It's basic knowledge for every car enthusiast that rare exotic cars have a very high price tag at private auctions. But what car models managed to make it to the top of the list for most expensive car of every decade? Let's take a look. Number 12, in the 1900s, the Rolls-Royce 10 horsepower two-seater was released in 1904 and auctioned by Bottoms in December 2007. It sold for $7,254,290 in London and is the oldest known surviving Rolls-Royce in the world. The antique car came off test in November 1904, was the fourth car to carry the Rolls-Royce name, and the third car to wear the manufacturer's radiator. The 10 horsepower was also the first car to be produced as a result of an agreement between Charles Rolls and Henry Royce. This motoring icon was displayed at the 1904 Paris Salon and 1905 Olympia Motor Exhibition, along with 15 and 20 horsepower cars and the engine for the 30 horsepower models. At number 11, the 1910s. The Rolls-Royce 40/50 horsepower double Pullman limousine, the Corgi, was released in 1912, auctioned by Bottoms in 2012. It sold for $7,343,000 in Goodwood, United Kingdom. The car has managed to survive more than a century in its original configuration. It was delivered by Rolls-Royce and Barker & Company and is the only example of this coachwork without a division window. The Rolls-Royce 4050 HP was made appealing to owners who liked driving by themselves. That's why the driver's compartment was as finely trimmed and equipped as the rear was, presenting a big contrast to the usual similarly bodied automobiles of the period. At number 10, the 1920s, it's the Mercedes-Benz 680S Torpedo Roadster, released in 1928 and sold for US $8,226,400 in August of 2013. It was auctioned by RM Auctions in Monterey, United States. This exclusive Mercedes-Benz was born in an era when the Ford Model T was selling 1 million units per year on average. It was released at the age of custom horse-drawn coaches and was a high-fashion model and served as a fine engineering example that was displayed at the 1929 New York Auto Salon. Only 3 of the short windshield examples were built, making the Mercedes-Benz 680S Torpedo Roadster the only one known survivor. The elite could custom order the car to their dreams with a bevy of fine materials that were usually sourced from colonies around the world. And number 9, the 1930s. The Alfa Romeo 8C 2900B Lungo Spider came out in 1939 and sold for US $19,800,000 in August 2016 after it was auctioned by RM Sotheby's in Monterey. The 8C 2900B was way ahead of the other sports cars during the time. This was because it was not a mere sports car, but the most modern, advanced, and the ultimate Italian two-seater convertible of its generation that you could buy. There are only 12 believed Touring Spiders bodies, who can justifiably be referred to as Italy's version of the Bugatti Atlantic. The 8C has 8 cylinders and a straight 8-cylinder engine, changing the sports car game. Number 8. In the 1940s, the Alfa Romeo 6C 2500 Competizione was released in 1948. It was auctioned by Gooding & Company in 1948, who sold it for US $4,840,000 in August 2013 in Pebble Beach. The 6C 2500 Competizione was the first post-war Alfa Romeo competition model, making it the first automobile designed and built by Alfa Corse, the racing and technical staff by Alfa Romeo. This special car is one of only 2 that have been built, and the only example that exists. The unique, intriguing design of the vehicle is not the only fascinating bit. The Alfa Romeo 6C 2500 also made 4 consecutive Mille Miglia appearances through 1948 to 1951 and completed 3 Targa Florio runs from 49 to 51. Number 7. The 50s. The Ferrari 335S Spider Scaglietti, which was released in 1957, sold for a whopping $35,711,359 in February 2016. The vehicle was auctioned by Arcurial in Paris, France. The Ferrari 335S Spider Scaglietti has been dubbed one of the most iconic cars in the history of motor racing, having been raced by legends like Mike Hawthorne and Sir Sterling Moss. It was also part of the legendary Pierre Bardillon collection for more than 40 years, where he had assembled most of the successful and iconic factory models in the history of Ferrari. The $36 million car is, to this day, one of the rarest Ferraris in existence. Equipped with a 4.1-liter V12 engine, it has a massive 400 horsepower, that it enables it to reach a top speed of 190 miles per hour. At number 6, the 1960s. Another Ferrari, succeeding the Ferrari 335S Spider, released in 1962, the Ferrari 250 GTO. Sold for $38,115,000 in August 2014 at Pebble Beach by Bottoms. The incredibly rare prancing horse soon became the most expensive car to be ever sold at Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. Even though the Ferrari factory manufactured 39 cars that could be considered as GTO family, there were only 28 cars with the 3-liter V12 engine that were the true 250 GTOs. Another interesting fact about it is that no other Ferrari 250 GTO has managed to remain in one ownership for as long as this one had. From 1965 all the way to 2014, this Ferrari 250 GTO sold at Pebble Beach belonged to Italian Fabrizio Vailati. Number 5, the 1970s. Coming out in 1972, the Porsche 91710 went for $5,830,000 in August of 2012. It was auctioned by Mecum in Monterey, a place that apparently sold many expensive cars. Driven by racing legends like Mark Donohue and George Fulmer, who won the 1972 North American-Canadian-American Challenge, the Can-Am Championship, the Porsche 917 is the most recognized Porsche in the world. Powered by a 5.4-liter twin-turbo 12-cylinder engine, the Porsche 917 is capable of making more than 1,150 horsepower. Because of the speed and dominance it has in the Can-Am series, the 917 became known as the car that killed Can-Am racing. No wonder it's the most recognized car in the world. Number 4, the 1980s. Following the Porsche 917 is the Porsche 956. Released in 1982, it was the most expensive car of the decade, going for $10,120,000 in August of 2015. It was auctioned by Gooding & Company in Pebble Beach. The Porsche 956 is mostly known for its victory at the prestigious 24 Hours of Le Mans in 1983, where it was driven by Stefan Beloff, setting a record that went on to stand for 35 years. One of only 10 cars, there's no doubt that the Porsche 956 is quite rare. Not to mention, it is also the single most successful Porsche 956. It was initially built as a replacement for Porsche's successful 936 model that competed in the previous Group 6 category of the World Championship. Number 3, 1990s. Released in 1998, the McLaren F1 LM specification sold for US $13,750,000 in August 2015 by RM Auctions in Monterey. It was one of the most iconic supercars of the modern era and was designed and built by a team led by Gordon Murray and Ron Dennis. This model was built by McLaren to honor the 24 Hours of Le Mans victory in 1995. It is one of the 2 examples upgraded by McLaren Special Operations that has an LM spec 680 horsepower engine. However, it also has a road specification interior with numerous upgrades, including satellite navigation. Number 2, for the 2000s, it was in 2005 that Enzo Ferrari came out and was sold 10 years later in 2015 for US $6,050,000 in Monterey by RM Auctions. This car was gifted to His Holiness Pope John Paul II by Ferrari, making it the most desirable and historically important Enzo Ferrari. Not to mention, it was the last one, number 400 of 400, that Enzo had built. It was also one of the very few that were finished in Scuderia Red, a color that was seldom seen on Enzo's and more on Scuderia's Formula One cars. The Pope suggested the car be sold on his behalf and donate all the money from the sale to the victims of a tsunami that had hit Southeast Asia. Thus, all the sale funds were donated for charity. Number 1 in the 2010s. The most expensive car in the 2010s was the Ferrari LaFerrari that was released in 2014 and sold at a charity auction by RM Auctions for US $7 million in December of 2016 at Daytona Beach. It was sold as a gift from Ferrari to Italy, and the proceeds of the sale were donated to the reconstruction of central Italy, which had recently suffered the devastating earthquakes in the same year. Hypercar was sold for a remarkable $7 million, which was a world record price for a 21st century automobile to have been sold at auction. Now we have to wait around and see what the most expensive car of this decade will be. And that's a wrap on the most expensive car of every decade. What do you think about the relevant question to the video? Let us know in the comments below, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.